Guns and domestic violence. The victims could be your mom, sister, neighbor you might not even know. People don't like talking about it. Anastasia Bolton discovered Texas has a law meant to protect victims, but critics say no real way to make sure people follow through on court's orders. A warning, some of what you're about to hear may be disturbing.
An abuser will use whatever tactic they need to keep power and control over you.
They often suffer alone.
The threats, the anger.
Hiding the ugly, the painful. From family, police, even themselves.
There were red flags from the beginning that I didn't notice because I just was ignorant and I just didn't know.
Hiding until they no longer can. We first met Samantha in January of 2020. 6 years had passed since she recorded this assault. When it happened, she'd already left her husband.
When your fear of staying is more than your fear of going, you go.
Some fear still lingers. Samantha isn't her real name. It's safer this way for many reasons.
Begging him not to kill me.
Including he'd threatened her with a loaded shotgun in the past.
Yeah. I knew that if I did not leave, he was gonna kill me. I knew.
It took months to leave, file for divorce, get a protective order against her husband, which prohibited him from possessing a firearm or ammunition.
He was in possession of guns and ammunition the whole time during the protective order. So it's just a piece of paper, it didn't matter.
In Texas, if a protective order is issued against you, you can't possess a firearm or ammunition, with the exception of working peace officers. Texas lawmakers spelled that out more than 20 years ago. But based on multiple conversations with lawmakers, attorneys, judges, law enforcement, and advocates, most of the 254 Texas counties do not have a formal process for surrender, storage, and return of those guns.
Since the law went into effect, we have hit many roadblocks in order to really have a system in place. Some of it's jurisdictional, some of it's territorial. My name is Jan Langbein, and I'm the CEO of Genesis Women's Shelter and Support in Dallas, Texas. I think it is hit and miss, and you know what? If it's your sister or your mom or your daughter, do you want hit or do you want miss?
Texas Council on Family Violence works on abuse issues across the state. In 2019, TCFV says 63% of women and 68% of men killed by domestic partners were shot.
The very presence of firearms in the home ratchets up lethality 500%. I don't know that we need stronger laws, but I know that we are now needing protocols and laws to help us enforce the laws that are on the books.
No one seems to have a complete picture of who's doing what enforcement across the state. For months, we worked to figure it out. What we can tell you for certain is we found 8 counties where courts work with the sheriff's offices and have gun surrender procedures: Harris, Dallas, El Paso, Travis, Fort Bend, Williamson, Galveston, and Hidalgo. A judge orders the surrender. Depending on the county, the guns are stored by law enforcement, sold, or given to someone else to keep. People can get the guns back after the protective order expires. In 2020, 91 guns were surrendered to the 7 sheriff's offices that provided us information.
The gun is not the problem as far as I'm concerned, it's the person. Parnell McNamara, I'm the sheriff of McLennan County. Waco is the county seat. We've talked about it and discussed it, and at some point we may get one. But right now, we don't have anything in place where people can turn their guns in.
Sheriff McNamara talked to us about a gun surrender protocol in early 2020, right before the pandemic.
And I have to be honest, do I have a lot of faith in that working? No, not really. But it's worth a try, and we'll give it a try.
We followed up with the sheriff a year later. Nothing's been put in place. He said he'd accept the guns, but said no surrenders have been ordered by the courts.
If your abuser wants to kill you, they're gonna kill you.
For Samantha, this issue is complicated.
It don't matter. Let them take all the guns away. If somebody is intent on doing you harm, they're gonna do you harm.
Domestic violence is complicated, often forcing victims to suffer alone and stay.
Why did I stay? I guess I thought I had to.
Solutions aren't easy either.
If you're asking me if I think that they should tell the person who has a protective order they should relinquish their guns, if you're telling me, sure, tell them. Tell them to come relinquish their guns. Do you think they're going to do it? They might give them 1 or 2 of them, but what about the other 15 they have? There's no way to enforce it.
Does that mean Texas doesn't try? Lawmakers will have to answer that this year. I'm Anastasia Bolton.